I was supposed to speak on this situation a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to wait till I got something that I can kind of feed off. And not that I needed that. Um, I was going to speak about it in my Freestyle Friday that will be coming back very soon. I had a few things I had to take care of in my personal life. And for the 73 subscribers that I do have, I want to apologize to you guys for starting the new year out, doing what I was supposed to do for dealing with the channel, and I didn't follow through with everything I said. But the giveaway still is there, um, and everything else is about to get back on track. The real life prison stories on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, everything is about to get everything back on track because I'm I'm taking care of what I need to take care of. But in the meantime, before I get full fledged, I'm gonna be dropping videos and reacting to videos, dealing with sports, entertainment, and worldviews, social issues, politics, etc. But I wanted to speak on this Reggie Bush situation. Reggie Bush was one of the most electrifying, talented. I'm talking about he was some. You had to really actually see him. And we living in a time now where you got highlight reel. You can go on YouTube. Reggie Bush in college and in the NFL, but in college, he was almost like a created character on a 99 overall player on Madden that you created. He was completely unstoppable, electrifying. I'm talking about when you watch Reggie Bush play at USC, if you were able to get a chance to do so, this guy was. I'm talking about jaw dropping. He had a situation where he was supposedly taking money, getting stuff like all the great players do. Of course, now we got the NIL. Thank God for that, because you had a lot of players over the years. They got players that are good in college, but they don't. That doesn't always transcend to the pros. So you in college all these years, bringing this university all this money, and you might not make it to the pros. So now you didn't generate all this money for this university, and now you living a regular life, and all this money that you made, you didn't get a penny of it. So they changed that with the NIL, which was a good thing. But NIL wasn't available when Reggie Bush was in school. So anytime a player was paid for what he was doing on the field, indirectly or directly, it was a violation. It was an NCAA violation, and sanctions would come down on the school. USC lost wins for that season, the 2005 season. And of course, the Heisman Trust is a separate entity, but he ended up getting his Heisman took when they found out that he had took a loan and didn't pay it back. And like these guys are gonna get into it. Now the odd couple, is two bozos, two brain dead liberal, um, beta males by the name of Rob Parker and Chris Broussard, and they've been around very long. They both been around for a very long time. They've been around in journalism for years. Some of their takes are horrendous, but that's not my thing. Like Rob Parker, he actually blocked me on Instagram for supporting Donald Trump, basically because he had made a post saying certain things about Donald Trump, and I addressed him and told him all of the good things that Donald Trump did specifically for black people, and his beloved Obama did nothing. I'll get into that. I've gotten to that in my videos. And so, he blocked me. He, of course, he did what the liberal beta black person does. Either they're going to get overly emotional, they're going to constantly move the goalposts, or they're just going to just get angry and block you without saying anything because they don't have any bullets to shoot back. Right? This is something I've learned, so I don't really even deal with them. But that's another story for another day. That was just giving a synopsis of these two bozos. But they both going to talk about this situation, and of course, I'm gonna chime in.
But Reggie Bush, who won the Heisman Trophy for USC in 2005, and wow, talk about a phenomenal college running back, Rob. He was just incredible. And in 2005, ran for 1,740 yards. Rob, he averaged 8.7 yards per carry. It's like every time you gave it to him, it was basically a first down. I mean, that's incredible. He won the Heisman. He got some goodies from the boosters and from supporters of USC. And didn't his parents get a home? They get a home? Yeah. And so in 2010, the NCAA took his Heisman, removed him from, he became the only person.
Was it the NCAA or Chris or the Heisman Committee who took it? It was the Heisman people.
Heisman Committee, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heisman Trust. Took his Heisman from him, the only player that had his Heisman taken. And today, Rob, 14 years later, they reinstated him as a Heisman Trophy winner. Of course,
You can't put a price on winning a championship, but you can put a price on watching someone win it.
Reinstated him as a Heisman Trophy winner. Of course, I'm sure I speak for both of us. It was not like we stopped thinking of him as a Heisman Trophy winner.
That's why taking stuff away and to all that, it's hard to unsee it, Chris. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even if something went down, I've always said that you can't unsee it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it happened.
It's what's good about it. I mean, it's just great in general, but he does get robbed. You know, even though I'm sure everyone still thought of him as a Heisman Trophy winner, you know, he wasn't able to officially participate in all the things that Heisman Trophy winners get to. And so now he will get those opportunities again. So that's good for him. He obviously has, you know, made a nice, had a solid NFL career, not what he was expected to be, wasn't a superstar, but he had a solid NFL career. And then now has gone on to, you know, become a reputable broadcaster and analyst, Rob. So he's doing fine.
Doesn't change the facts, though. It still doesn't change what took place, you know? And you could question whether or not they ever should have done it. But at the time where the rules were in place, nothing really changes. I mean, the Heisman didn't say, oh, he didn't do it, he was exonerated. It's just that they decided to give it back. I don't know if this has...
Now what he did is like not against the rules anymore. Players can get, you know, NIL,
but at the time when he was there, I hear what you're saying. It's just like, Chris, we used to drive around. It would be like, you know what it would be like? It would be like when we were kids, and I talk about this all the time, being in my dad's Eldorado, Chris, drop top, with the kids and the neighborhood kids, 6 of us in the back seat, bouncing around.
Seat?
Yeah,
man, we'd be in the front seat.
We'd be in the
because
with no seat belts.
Big seats, right?
Right, they were like a couch.
Had no middle, right.
It was like a couch.
I'd be bouncing around in the front seat.
We'd be bouncing around.
We didn't.
That would be like now giving people tickets saying we know that you weren't wearing a seatbelt. You know what I mean? Like we weren't wearing a seatbelt, but it wasn't a law back then. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a side note here, okay? And as this Reggie Bush getting his Heisman Trophy back, as a backdrop, I'm calling out all former athletes who have podcasts and platforms, Chris, in these United States. Hello? Is this on? This is for you. We want receipts. You talk about it all the time that you got, where? I got receipts. We want receipts. Since Reggie Bush got his Heisman back, Chris, obviously schools aren't going to punish people. Hall of Fames aren't going to punish people, right? All that's out the window now. So you know what I want? I want all these big mouth athletes who know more than they've ever let out on these podcasts to speak up and come cleanse yourself. I want you to come clean finally. Yes, Gilbert Arenas, I'm talking to you. Yes, Draymond Green, I'm talking to you. Yes, J.J. Redick, I'm talking to you. I want you to finally be in the truth business. Wow. Stop wasting the airtime.
Wow.
All right, just to hear yourself talk.
Wow.
You know what people want to hear from you? They want you to give them the real goods. Blow the lid off of this. You know what we want? Names and figures, Chris. Who gave you money? How much did they give you? How did they give it to you? How did you move around in college? Tell us how it was all done, because we know it's out there, Chris, and these guys have held this in forever. Who's got the guts? Who's got the cojones? Who's got the gumption to finally stand up and pull the curtain back? Those coaches that paid you and those other people, Chris, they're already in the Hall of Fame. What are they going to do? Take them out? Come clean. I want to hear all of it. They did the Fab Five dirty. Chris Webber, all those guys. They got caught, Chris. Tell us, who gave you the money? How much was it? Was the university in on it? Was the president? How did they deliver the cash? That's what I want to hear from these guys right now. I don't want to hear anything else. Don't celebrate Reggie Bush. Come clean. Stop it. Let us know what has gone on in sports, college sports, Chris, for a long time, and it doesn't look like there'll be any retribution against you. Here's the time to cleanse yourself.
No, I think.
Now, I want to stop him right here. See what I told y'all at the beginning of this video, how these guys are two bozos? Start with Rob Parker. First and foremost, and this is what I tell y'all about these Negroes, these liberal Negroes, and how confused they are. Now, this one of those liberal Negroes who are always talking about the black man this, the black man that. Why ain't you just on here happy, celebrating that Reggie Bush got his Heisman back? Instead, you turn the gun on these other guys who ain't got nothing to do with it, never been found guilty of doing nothing in college, nothing, and tell them to come clean because, quote unquote, they got a big mouth. Well, really, you just jealous. See, journalists like these two guys, Stephen A. Smith, those journalists that talk about sports, that went to school to be journalism, they really are jealous of athletes who actually played the game and now journalists. So he called out all these ex-athletes, because he never was an athlete, to come out here and basically snitch on themselves and bring other people down, all because what happened with Reggie Bush. That would be the equivalent of me going get a drug charge, get exonerated. Not exonerated so much, but pardon. That would be like me having a drug charge or a charge, getting pardoned for the charge, and going and a guy and some newscast guy says, hey, well, he did it, got pardoned for it. Everybody else that ever did what he did and didn't get caught, come clean. Come clean and say you were selling pounds of marijuana. It's legal now. Come clean and say, hey, in 1995, you were selling pounds of marijuana illegal. That would be the dumbest thing that they would ever do. They would burn multiple bridges because guess what? Everybody knows with a working brain and common sense, which is not so common these days, that the great players, even some of the mediocre players in college that is going to the bottom line, meaning helping the team win and helping the team be better and helping the school generate money, are going to get compensated, are going to get vehicles. And the better they are, the better thing that they're going to get. Their mom might get a home. Their sister might get a scholarship. Their brother might get a scholarship. These are the things that happens. And everyone knows this goes down. Is it, well, it's legal now, but was it illegal back then? Of course. But it still was going down. And guess what? Had they not came out with NIL, it would still be going down. And that's just the way it worked. That's just the way the world worked. The world is a quid pro quo world. That's just the way, right? And so for this guy to come on here and make this a positive situation, make it into something negative, and tell guys to call some people out, coaches or schools or whatever, is asinine. And this is the same guy who was a professor at USC. This is the guy who's teaching your children. This guy on the right, Rob Parker, a complete imbecile.
I think that's a great take. I agree.
No, it's not, Chris.
But I mean, look, and the athletes were wrong for taking, the money. It was illegal at that time. But Rob, if you're calling out the athletes, and not just the ones with the platforms, any athlete, any big time athlete, former athlete, can get on a mic. If he wants to say something, he don't have to have a podcast. He can go on somebody's podcast and say it. But Rob, I have always felt, while yes, the players broke rules and took money, that the players always got the raw end of the deal. Because whenever somebody was caught, it was these college players, these teenagers in many cases, some of whom, many of whom were from incredibly impoverished backgrounds. And I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying the adults. And I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying the adults, the corporate businessmen, the wealthy boosters of these teams, these college teams, these programs, these distinguished alumni, they got off scot-free. Everybody jumped on the 18-year-old from the hood who was, struggling financially because he took money and his mom took money. But the wealthy businessman who was respected in the city, if not the state and the country, he got off scot-free.
As he should, you liberal idiot. As he should. Now here we go again. Once again, as I told you, these guys are always victims. They're always making excuses. Always this. Okay, yes, he was a young black man in the hood, but was that those billionaires and those investors and those people who gave him this money and did these things for him because he was performing well at their school? Is it their fault he was in the hood, or was it his parents' fault he was in the hood? Right? You saying it, Chris, as if it was their fault he was in the hood. So by them giving him certain things for his performance well on the field was a trinket of what they owed him. They didn't owe him anything. He was great at what he did, and because of that, they had some guys who made him and his family's life easier. What you guys constantly got to understand is, of course, like I said, as they should be kept secret, and they shouldn't have to face no charges, and nothing should happen to them. Because guess what? They don't come a dime. Dudes who can play sports, great athletes, come a dime a dozen. There's a lot of brothers who were supposed to be in the NFL, supposed to go to the supposed to go to the MLB, supposed to go to the NBA, but they didn't make it because they got in trouble or they got on drugs or certain things like that happened. But what doesn't come a dime a dozen is some rich person, whether he's white, black, or blue, to come say, hey, you know what? This is illegal, but because you're performing on the field for my school, which helps the bottom line, I will do this for you. I will do this for your family. I will give your mother this. I will do this. These people don't come a dime a dozen. And if it wouldn't have been for them, he would have just been a dude out the hood at USC playing great football. Hopefully he made it to the NFL, which he ultimately did. But I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, he didn't. He'd have just been a broke dude from the hood that was good as hell in college, had it not have been for them. So why would they be exposed? Why would they have to face all because they was, everybody going down on a young kid from the hood? That's who they supposed to go down. He's the fall guy. He got caught. He's the fall guy. You don't bring everybody else down, especially the people who looked out and did things for you when you didn't have anything, all because of your talent that God blessed you with. It's not their fault he was in the hood. So what are you saying, Chris? This is the type of stuff I'm talking about with these bozos, right? Oh, because they supposed to be, as they should be protected. Because they the ones who was helping this guy. If anyone should be protected, maybe if you want to say something about the school, okay, let the school take a hit. But if anyone should be protected throughout this entire process and names shouldn't be brought out, it's the people who was doing the giving. Forget how they was doing it, where it was being delivered, but the people who was behind the scene illegally giving him gifts for his performance. They should always be protected. Idiot. Man.
So why don't they come clean too?
Never
Now
tell
the
on yourself.
athletes, they can name names.
To do that, Chris.
Right.
This is my point.
They
Here's
can
your
name.
chance.
Yeah, they can name those names. I mean, look, like you said, there's not going to be any retribution. I mean, presumably, right? So I'm not so much into if they want to name names and everything, that's fine. But Rob, and I know you and I feel differently about the Players Podcast. I like their podcast. Now I know they're not hard-hitting journalists, but their stories are great. The fact that they act like themselves where they might not in most cases with journalists is great. You really get to know these guys for who they are. And if they just tell the stories, man, when I was at such and such a place, we got I got $100,000 each year I was there. They took me there, man, my recruiting trip, they did this, they did that. I was like, well, hold on, I can't take this, right? Well, and so, the Hall of Fame coach told me, look, man, everybody, whatever it is. I want to hear the stories, Rob, because the stories would be great. And you've been around athletes enough, and I have too, where they joke about it. I went here because they was giving me more money, and laugh about it and stuff like that. But now, like you said, they can tell the truth, and that's entertaining, and that is what we want from the athletes, right? We want the things from the athletes that no one else can give you.
That's why I'm calling on them,
I can give you an analysis, right? Somebody else can give you analysis. We can't tell you what it was like to actually be a big-time athlete.
Nope. And the behind-the-scenes story. Here's the other thing, too, Chris, and this is where I fault players all the time. You talk about all the time about the players that left holding the bag. A lot of times they won't snitch, whatever you want to call it, on the coaches, Chris, the Rick Pitino with the prostitutes and all that.
Right.
Like they just took the fall for all that.
Right.
When me and you both know, I mean, just logically, ain't no way prostitutes were in the dorm and Rick Pitino didn't know about it. I don't care what, you couldn't tell me anything.
Where was
Chris.
this assistant getting the money from?
He's a grad assistant, Chris, making peanuts, paying for prostitutes. Who would believe that story?
And if your coach found that out, and he didn't know anything about it, and you got in trouble,
shame on him.
He's found that out. If your coach found that out, and he didn't know anything about it, and you got in trouble,
shame on him.
He's firing you. Or you would at least fear that he might fire you. So come on, you're absolutely right.
Peacock is the exclusive streaming.
Now, I'm about to end this video, man. I just wanted to speak on that. And in the end, they still doing the whole thing. Now they going to the Rick Pitino, and I don't get too deep in that. Whenever the guys at Louisville was supposed to be, the player was having prostitutes in the dorm rooms, and they talking about that if it was happening, Rick Pitino knew about it. It is a possibility that he did, but it's also a strong possibility that he didn't. These coaches, these basketball coaches are dialed in. You know what I'm saying? Like, these basketball, it's not what people think. Sometimes these basketball coaches are like fathers, but for the most part, these basketball coaches are dialed into winning. They don't have time to be babysitters of grown men. This is how these children are constantly given. That was the case. All of these children going to these great schools, Alabama, Georgia, and all these Florida, these children wouldn't be getting into the stuff that they're getting into. These coaches be dialed in on winning, dialed in on the bottom line. They don't be knowing what's going on in these guys' personal life, if they're going to get tattoos and trading for jerseys and all the stuff that these schools and these young men do. They're young men. They, a lot of times, like I say before, NIL, think about people like Braxton Miller or Tim Tebow and these guys. These guys would be making so much money today in NIL, but they wasn't making that back then. So here, they probably were just some broke college kid had they not, well, I ain't going to put Tebow in it because he never got caught doing that. But the situation with Braxton Miller at Ohio State when he was selling the jerseys for tattoos and, driving these nice cars and all that. Listen, he would have been doing very well. Braxton Miller was to Ohio State at that time what Caleb Williams was to USC these past years. He would have been making great NIL money. So it wouldn't have been a situation where he'd been able to pay for his tattoo. You can get a tattoo once you're 18, so it wasn't illegal. But these guys be hurting. They be struggling. And in most situations, like Chris said, these guys come from the hood. They just extremely talented, go to these big schools and be talented and, generate the school a lot of money by winning. But at the end of the day, these coaches be dialed in. They don't be knowing every speck of these children lives. They got a roster full of players, and they might have a stronger relationship with the stars, but they still don't know everything he's into. So to say that Rick Pitino knew that those young men had prostitutes, that it could be true and it could be not true. But I'm in the video here. Thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to speak on this Reggie Bush situation and just show how these liberal Negroes go against their own self. In other words, they always hollering about black people this, black people that, but when a black person do end up getting credited something, or in this situation getting his Heisman back, and we all supposed to be celebrating for him, because it wasn't like he committed a crime. He didn't hurt or kill anyone. You know what I'm saying? But we supposed to be celebrating it. But we're going to take, instead of celebrating it and putting a cap on it, we want to pull out the negativity on it. And this was wrong with the blacks right now. So I want to thank y'all for watching. God bless.